Imagine this, your accountant calls you, not because your annual accounts are ready, not because there's a tax deadline coming, but because they've been looking at your numbers and they've spotted something. And here's how that conversation would actually sound like. Your margins have been compressing quietly for 2 years. Nothing dramatic, nothing you'd necessarily notice month to month, but the trend is there. And if it continues, by this time next year, you've got a problem. However, we've got 3 ideas on what might be causing it and what you could actually do about it. That call, that's what a generally good accountant-client relationship looks like when AI is doing its job properly. And it's not science fiction, it's where the better firms are already heading. I'm Anshul, I'm a business owner, and I've spent the last couple of years deep in AI implementation, and I want to talk to you about what's actually possible in accountancy right now. Because I think that most people on both sides of the relationship haven't clocked the size of the opportunity yet. Now, let me give you a sense of where things actually stand, because the numbers are interesting. 66% of UK accountants say their firm is already using AI in some form. The majority are already in there, but here's a stat that really catches my attention. 59% of clients have no idea whether their accountant is using AI or not. So the technology is already in the room, the conversation with clients just hasn't happened yet. That gap right there, that's what this video is all about. So what can AI actually do here? The obvious stuff: bookkeeping automation, invoice matching, bank reconciliation. Tools like Xero and Sage have been doing versions of that for a while. That's table stakes. That's not the interesting bit. The interesting bit is this. Your accountant already has your data, 3 years of accounts, your margins, your cost base, your seasonal patterns, all of it. But right now, most of that just sits there, looked at once a year, maybe a brief call, then it goes in a drawer until next January. AI changes what you can actually do with that data, not because it replaces the accountant, but because it gives them something they've never really had before. The ability to sit with your numbers and join the dots, to spot that 1 month that looks quiet, but actually the 3 months before it were really busy, so there's nothing to worry about. To notice that margins are compressing slightly quarter on quarter and raise that while there's still time to do something about it. Xero's research says AI-enabled tasks are being done 31% faster, saving the average practice nearly 19 hours a week. That's almost half a working week per person freed up. The question is, what are firms doing with that time? If the answer is just some more compliance work, they're missing the point entirely. The better firms are starting to take the position of a business consultant, not just an accountant, coming back to clients and saying, we've looked at your last 3 years' accounts and we see some trends here, and we think there's an opportunity here you might not be seeing. Here's what we think you should be thinking about it. That kind of insight, that joining of the dots, is something that previously would have taken hours to do manually. AI can do it in minutes. And when it's paired with the judgment of a good accountant, that's genuinely powerful. Let me show you what that actually looks like. I've taken 3 years of management accounts of a fictional business, Meridian Facilities Management, a B2B facilities company, just over 1.2 million turnover, and loaded them into NotebookLM. That's Google's free research AI tool. First question, what trends do you notice in the gross margin and operating profit? It spots immediately that revenue is growing, but operating profit is actually falling from 160,000 down to 140,000 over 3 years. The business is working harder and earning less. That's a conversation worth having. Second question, any areas of financial risk? Client A, nearly 40% all revenue on a rolling annual contract with no long-term agreement. If that client walks, the business is in serious trouble. Has anyone actually said that to the owner? Probably not in those terms. Third question, write a plain English summary of the business's financial health suitable for a business owner who hasn't financially trained. And there it is, a client-ready 2-pager, first draft done in 4 minutes. I still need to review it, apply my judgment, make sure it's right. That doesn't change. But the first pass analyst work, that's already done. And that's something most clients have genuinely never had from their accountant before. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, is my financial data actually going to be safe going into these things? Completely the right question. And the honest answer is, it depends on which version you're using. There are fundamentally 2 different products, consumer AI and business AI. They are not the same thing. Don't use a personal free account with client data. Do use the business grade tier of whichever platform your firm is already on, Microsoft, Google, OpenAI. At that level, your data isn't being used to train models. You've got proper controls and every output gets reviewed before it goes near a client. The ICAEW guidance is clear on this, and it's the right call, but it doesn't mean only big firms can play. Business grade AI is within reach of practices of any size. What you need is a right account, a clear internal policy, and discipline about what goes in. Firms that build real trust over the next few years are also the ones who are upfront about this with their clients, not hiding it, proactively saying, here's our AI policy and here's how we use it and what it means for your data. That's a strength, not a liability. Now, let me talk about where this is all heading, because I think the firms that move on this now are going to be the ones who look very smart in a few years' time. The basic compliance work, bookkeeping, data entry, annual prep will largely be automated over time. And when that layer gets faster and cheaper, something interesting opens up. You get time back, real time. And what you do with that time is where the opportunity sits. The firms that pull ahead are the ones who build something on top of that baseline. Real insight, real advisory, a relationship where a client feels like their accountant is actually thinking about their business, not just their paperwork. That's a premium service, and clients will pay for it because most of them have never had it before. Here's what's particularly interesting for smaller firms. Historically, proactive advisory has been the domain of the big players. The firms with resources have dedicated analysts sitting with client data. AI levels that playing field. A well-run small and medium-sized practice using these tools properly can now offer the same kind of insights that previously only the big firms could. That's genuinely a competitive advantage available right now. Larger firms will move on this too, but they move slowly. Governance layers, procurement, processes, committees. The smaller agile firm that decides to move now has a real head start if they use it. So the question isn't whether to engage with this, the question is how quickly can you make it part of your actual work? The interpretation, the judgment, the ability to look at a set of numbers and understand what they mean for the specific person sitting across from you, that's not going anywhere. That's actually what clients are going to pay for. Not here's your tax bill, but here's what we're seeing, here's what it means, and here's what we'd be thinking about it if we were you. That's a different conversation entirely, and it's one that AI probably genuinely makes possible right now for firms of any size. If you found this useful, plain English, no hype, just actually what's happening, hit subscribe and drop a comment. Is your accountant already doing any of this? I'm genuinely curious what you're seeing out there.